It is fair to say that the Indigenous people of the land, the Aboriginals, are the original engineers of our country. Prior to European settlement in the 1700s, Aboriginal people were already practicing architecture, land management and sustainability, physics and mathematics. This video will look to recognise, acknowledge and bring awareness to the culture and practice of sustainability and how these practices have influenced the engineering of today. As engineers, it is important to positively impact the community, and in doing so, we must be aware of the cultures that came before us. Contrary to common belief, Aboriginal people practice quite complex and sophisticated methods despite being portrayed as primitive and nomadic. Going back to the very first records of European settlement, observations portrayed that Aboriginal people were regarded as hunter-gatherers. For example, in an account from Victoria, evidence suggests that there were vast yam pastures that were treated as crops. In the book The Biggest Estate on Earth, the author denotes the depth and intricacy of Aboriginal land management that existed even way before European settlement. It is said that the land was managed to ensure sustainability, and what the ecosystem needed, it was given. This is clear as we've been taught from a young age that the Aboriginal community become one with the land and they're protected in all regards. In Aboriginal culture, totems are referred to a connection between a person to the physical universe. Individuals are accounted for their totems and they must ensure they are protected and sustained for future generations. Aboriginal people lived sustainably for thousands upon thousands of years. Modern engineering is a collection of principles and practices that have evolved to solve both new and old problems. The area in which a common ground has been found within the Aboriginal and Western engineering solutions is that of sustainability. However, an example of failures in terms of environmental sustainability, when both communities do not consult one another for possible solutions, is the absence of care for the Australian land. Fire rejuvenation has been used by the Indigenous people as a way to regenerate vegetation and maintain growth. The plants have therefore evolved to adapt to the practice, and the richness of the soil was maintained. However, after European settlement, this practice was no longer used and the soil rapidly deteriorated. Another example of an Indigenous practice is if yellow flowers were present on the mountain shrub bumgar, this warned the young gum bear people of Queensland that the local cod species were not to be fished, as it was their breeding time. This technique can be accustomed to ecological calendars that were developed by the leaders of communities to provide an overview of the diversity of the species to maintain sustainable resources. Attention is being directly given to sustainability due to our current climate change state. Engineering especially, consultation for sustainable practices from traditional Aboriginal engineering is being adopted by national governments. Through these consultations, development of protocols and policies ensure sustainable projects are being developed and new knowledge is being factored. This knowledge is able to contribute to a sustained approach for our future welfare. In an article, Sustainability Concepts in Indigenous and Non-Indigenous Cultures, Throsby argues that it was not until the 1980s that the concepts of sustainability and of sustainable development as a pathway to achieve sustainability were introduced to the world through the work of the UN World Commission on Environment and Development. This proves the difference in cultures, as it was not until recently sustainability was being recognised. It is commonly argued that if we had used Aboriginal practices and utilising fire as a form of technology, the community would have worked to develop a clean solution long before the bushfire crisis that took over the nation. Aboriginals are known that their practices take into account all aspects such as economic, environmental and social sustainability. They truly care for all that are involved as well as the land predominantly. Based on the information provided, it is clear that Indigenous practices have been a positive impact. Their solutions and practices should continue to be researched and implemented into Western engineering, and we could definitely learn a thing or two. Thank you.